But it was a huge lesson. I couldn't follow up. And so then I implemented it, right? I started capturing names. And from that day forward, I always captured names. And I always felt bad about this for 300 people. They were probably still in those forums. I probably still, engaged with those people. But it was a huge eye opener. Like, okay, you can make sales, but you just built a relationship. You just revealed your authority, and if they were hungry for this content, I have all this other content I can give them, or maybe I give them more advice and tips and products in the future. Maybe they want to be on a list of mine. Maybe they want more of Matt's stuff, right? And that's how you got to think about it. Like they just purchased something. They earned this money. They spent some of that money on your product. You don't think they want to learn anything else from you? Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable From the Trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, it is another solo episode by yours truly, Matt Levenhagen. So today we're going to talk about list building, and it's going to be a practical, I don't know if we call it a guide, but you're going to follow a story. My story, done list building in the past, and my story and what I'm doing today to implement it. I joked recently, this past year on some podcast, and somebody actually brought it up afterwards. They had heard the podcast episode, and that I am a big believer in list building, that I think everyone should build a list. It's like one of the most important things, that's lent to giant successes online is having lists, and meaning email lists, capturing names, following up with those folks with content, value, and offers, that type of thing. But I had said that even though I believe that, I haven't had really been successful in doing that in recent years, especially since I've started this agency, the web design agency. I really haven't. I've made a few attempts. But there's different reasons it didn't work out. Either the test didn't really reap any rewards or we didn't have the traffic, or it's different reasons. Things change over time. But I have a current initiative that actually is gaining some traction, and we're going to dig into it, but not just what it is, but also how I'm doing it. I want to share with you, let's say, for those of you, even if you have a list, maybe this will inspire you to do more, or maybe to make another list. But it's the process from the concept, coming up with an idea, why I came up with that idea, and the follow-ups that I'm creating that are going to be sent out over time, and how I built that down to the nuts and bolts, like what I used. Did I use ChatGPT, or did that all come from Matt? We'll answer those questions and more in this episode. So let's dive in. So first of all, a little bit of background. I mentioned that I've done list building, and I have. And I had learned a lesson many, many years ago, almost 20 years ago, which is kind of crazy to say out loud. But it was literally 2005. It was that fall. Or late summer. And I had partnered up with somebody. And this individual, it was before we partnered. He suggested to me that all the free content, all the free tips and answering questions and stuff that I was doing in the forums back then. Forums were very popular. There's internet marketing forums and niche forums, specifically around, in this case, it was related to Google AdWords. I belonged to a private forum called AdWords Mentor, where there was 1,000+ people in that forum and hundreds of active people. If my memory serves me, I was one of those folks. But there's other internet marketing forums out there. But we were very active. But I would share what I was doing. I would share the results I was getting from the methods I was using to promote affiliate programs. And somebody, contacted me and said, "Hey, we really should talk." And we started chatting. And he mentioned this idea. He's like, I've seen you write reports, and I've done some reports that didn't do well. Special reports, we'd call them back in the day. So it was like 10, 20, 30 page little reports that spoke to something, and you'd sell those for $7 or a nickel. And maybe you'd get sales. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe a friend would buy one. But he's like, you should package up all the things you're talking about in this private forum here and create a product out of it. A product, a special report, which is technically a product. And so I did. I followed his advice. And so the lesson is coming, though. When I did that, and maybe it was based on the lack of results from previous ones I'd done where only a few people would buy, in the week I released this report, it was actually called Coin Applied to AdWords. Coin stood for Click Opt-in Network. It's a whole thing. And somebody actually recently, never mind. I'm not going to, somebody, an old person from those days actually brought Coin up to me this past year. It was wild. It was like, what? There's people still out there. But that had actually turned into a different name over time. It was Campaign Blasting. And I'm not going to get into all that, but the lesson here is, so I created this report. It was probably 20 pages, 30 pages. And I ended up making 300 sales within that first week. And I made a bunch of sales in this private forum, and I took it out into this internet marketing forum, sold another bunch, and I was just getting sales. That ended up, I eventually turned that into an ebook and all this. But the lesson I learned was I never captured those names. So I had just made 300 sales, and I had no clue who these people were. I mean, I probably had them in my, I don't even know what I probably used PayPal or something. They're probably in there, but I didn't really capture them as, in a legal way, into a list. And so I had no way to follow up with these people. And I remember that. And you would think of PayPal, I would have had a way to capture those. I don't know how I sold it. But anyway, but it was a huge lesson. I couldn't follow up. And so then I implemented it, right? I started capturing names. And from that day forward, I always captured names. And I always felt bad about this for 300 people. They were probably still in those forums. I probably still, engaged with those people. But it was a huge eye opener. Like, okay, you can make sales, but you just built a relationship. You just revealed your authority. And if they were hungry for this content, I have all this other content I can give them, or maybe I give them more advice and tips and products in the future. Maybe they want to be on a list of mine. Maybe they want more of Matt's stuff, right? And that's how you got to think about it. Like they just purchased something. They earned this money. They spent some of that money on your product. You don't think they want to learn anything else from you? So from that day forward, though, I always thought lists first. When I was going to create a product, whatever that was, a membership, whatever I'm doing. And to this day, I think, man, how am I capturing those names? Now today, obviously, the things I sell are larger, multi-$1,000 contracts and all this stuff because I do web design and have an agency. I technically have those names, right? So I better. But it's just very tiny, in comparison list. But at the same time, I do have products and I do have other ways I can monetize things. And I've always wanted to find a way to build a list. And so this year I came up with an idea around some content. I always also look at like every site that I have and what the purpose of that site is, what it drives in terms of traffic or revenue, right? What is it for, and what is, what's its purpose, right? You have to have a website. If you're selling something, you have to have a purpose, right? Obviously, unifiedplugins.com. We're selling WordPress plugins. That's our purpose. Those are the names we capture there. That's what we do. Unified Web Design, obviously. The builders.fm, the purpose is subscribers and maybe driving traffic to, our sponsors, which is mostly us. But then we have mattlevenhagen.com, which was been just a blog for a long time. And I realized, and one of the things that I've always thought about over time as well is I want to continue to build my personal brand. I want to build Unified Web Design, that brand, but I want to extract myself from that brand and build my own personal brand on its own. So it's standalone. So it's two separate things. In the beginning, Unified Web Design, even on the homepage, was Matt's bio. It was all about Matt, but I'm fading into the distance. I'm still a big part of it, but but the goal is though for that brand to stand on its own and then have the Matt Levenhagen brand, right? So, but if I just have a blog, it's just a blog. There's nothing I'm capturing there. It's just driving traffic organically or through social media to my articles or whatever, to my posts. But I'm like, this is maybe where I should list build. If I could figure out my focus, I could list build here. And originally, so I've been posting a lot of content. The blog pivoted a couple of years ago or a year or two ago to focus on teams and processes and that intersection. So that's what I've been basically posting about on mattlevenhagen.com. If you go there to the blog, you're going to see a lot of that. You can go through all those articles. And then I, on that site, I obviously link out to my different projects. I also capture all the guest posting I've been doing. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of that as time goes on. It kind of ties into what I'm going to be talking about today and why I'm doing it, because there is another why. So the other why is I started doing, I've been doing guesting. Obviously I have this podcast and we're closing in on 200 episodes. And, but I also wanted to start guesting, for more exposure and obviously there's lots of reasons to do guesting. But at the end of an episode, you want a call to action, something for somebody to do. And I have a built-in call to action, obviously Unified Web Design, but I don't want to only talk about that because I want to open myself up to different types of podcasts, not just talk technical stuff. Because even with this podcast, The Builders, why is it The Builders? Why is it entrepreneurial? There's a couple reasons. Number one, I like to talk about business and all aspects of business. That's just something I'm passionate about and I love to talk about. But it's also my market. Who am I marketing to? What business am I getting? I'm B2B. I basically sell people. I sell businesses, services and agencies and so on and so forth. So that's that purpose. Well, on my blog, it's kind of the same thing. And when I'm guesting, it's the same thing. But just sending somebody to go, if you need web design development, it's kind of narrow in scope. It's not broad enough to capture those folks to build a relationship. And that's what I want to do. So what I decided was, well, it could be teams and processes, but so I toyed with that idea a little bit. And I'm like, actually, let's talk about outsourcing. But not just outsourcing. It's actually about not bait and switch. It's actually, but outsourcing can be building partnerships, strategic partnerships, building relationships, and doing outsourcing in that context, in that way, not just giving people tasks to do for you, but building a relationship with that other party and all that. So I thought that would be, number one, really good, really powerful, a great lesson. If somebody's thinking about getting help, you know, put it into the context of not just, like I said, not just going to a freelance site or, hiring somebody one off, but building a relationship with people that can do work for you long term and working together more. And it goes into all kinds of things. So, and then I could share my experience in there and actually case studies, which I have done. And so what I started with was that I took that idea and I did write months back now, in 2024, early 2024, I wrote this guide called Outsourcing Fit. And it's about my 4 pillars that go into outsourcing. And so that was an iterative process. I, writing this guide and worked hard on it. We designed it and it looks really nice. Even had my designer design it, the layout and everything. I wanted it to be really, really nice. I wanted to do something that was really top tier, or as top tier as Matt can get. But so I did that. Great. Okay. Now I have a way to capture. So now it's what some people call lead magnet. It's just a giveaway. It's something of value that I can give to somebody that I know I've put my heart and soul in. It's not just, something that ChatGPT wrote or whatever. It's just, or some white label content I threw in there. No, it's from the heart. Matt wrote this with some help from ChatGPT, obviously. But the guts are Matt, ChatGPT is good for helping with grammar or structure and those type of things. So I did that. And then I created a few follow-ups. The next step was, so I use MailChimp. That's where I'm capturing and delivering, right? So the first email is sent automatically. It delivers the download. I got a dedicated download page. People, that's where they go download, or you will. And and so they download it, and then they get that, and then I think the first one comes out. I don't remember how I pace it, but then there's like 6 emails after that. One is kind of a recap. No, one's a reminder. The second one's a reminder. Hey, did you go download that? And because I can't guarantee that every person that, they saw that first email, they were busy, it got buried. It's just a reminder. If you haven't downloaded it, here's the link again. Third one, through 7 is basically recapping what that PDF, that document, that guide talks about. And then each email after that breaks down each pillar. So that was my goal, is just to kind of recap it and encourage people to go back to that guide and add value, add some more stories, add some more value. Okay, great. But now, so those are going out once a week, I think, is the pacing. The first one might be like 3 days, and I don't know. Anyway, but now I'm like, well, I want to continue to follow up. So now I'm building this relationship. I don't want to lose them. And I don't necessarily want to do just broadcasts, basically, sending out a newsletter manually every month. I will do that in between things, but what I want to do is I want to create a series where it just automatically over a period of time continues to send and add value. So somebody might even start to anticipate these hitting their inbox and get a lot of value from it. So how was I going to do that? And I did talk to ChatGPT. Again, it's good for strategizing and thinking about content and structuring things. Maybe it came out with helped me develop the first bullet list of topics I would cover and how I would structure that, the strategy behind the content itself. But how many are going to do? How many was I going to build and write? And in my finite amount of time that I can do this. And I actually decided to go with a strategy. Now I'm actually going to, while I'm talking here, if you're on video, I'm actually going to do a little bit of a search. But I had a guest on the podcast that talked about creating a list of 52 emails. And that, and basically the idea is a 52-week drip sequence, I think he called it. The name of the guest is actually Daryl Evans. His episode was 107, if you want to go back. But he talked about this. I don't know how at length, because we talked about a bunch of things, I think. But he talked about how he got into email marketing and that he has this 52-week drip sequence that he repeats. Basically, he created 52, and then every year he updates those emails. Maybe he changes the subjects, the content, updates the content, refreshes it, makes it new again. And then the subscribers just start over. And his thought process, it's been a while since I've actually listened to that episode myself, but this is what I remember. I do remember things. I'm not getting that old yet. But basically he's like, not everybody opens and reads every single email you send to them on a weekly basis. So they're probably going to see emails in the second year they never saw in the first year, and so on and so forth. So, and then if you mix it up a little bit, they're never going to even know. So I'm like, that's a great idea. Just start with 52. Just start with 52. So I'd sent I had the 7 already. Now I'm going to do another 52 and make that my sequence. And I went at it. So now I don't know if I'll do it exactly like him. I have thought about this. I got a year to think about it, at least, because there's people in the pipeline already. There are people that signed up for this, so it has gained a little bit of traction. Hope to continue to promote it, but I got a year because I have done this, and I'll decide if I'm going to either replicate that and continue another series or create new content, or do exactly what he's doing and just refresh that content every year. That I'll worry about. But I did sit down to do the 52, and they are now active in MailChimp. And I'm very, very excited. My first 4 people went into it. So that is, so from here, I want to talk about that process and how I did that, to make this kind of a practical guide of, like, this is how Matt did it, and maybe it can work as kind of a framework for you to do this type of thing. And I want to just share what that experience was like, because 52, that's a lot. Now, I've done a lot of copy. I've done a lot of email marketing in the past. That initial list that I did, I ended up in that time frame. I built the list almost to 10,000 people, and it was very niche. So that was a lot for that niche. So it was very specialized. It was very narrow. It was affiliate marketing, pay-per-click, Google AdWords. That's what it was about. And that did very, very well. But I did a lot of emails. In those days, it was more broadcast based. I don't think I think I had some series, but I never did 52. And I'm like, and this week was a good week for me to do it. In the beginning of this week, that's how it wasn't that long ago. A few days back, I finished it. Yesterday, I finished it. I spent 4 days, several hours a day for 4 days doing this. And it was a good time to do it because it's been a slower week, summer. And I'm like, I really want to do this because I want to really put more emphasis on marketing going into the fall and pushing content out. So Monday, I think up until, I think I'd already started talking to ChatGPT and helping it brainstorm and develop these ideas and what the series would look like. That is actually, I think, a legitimate and good thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's, I've had ChatGPT do a lot of structural things like that for content, to come up with ideas. And I even do it for the podcast sometimes. I'll use it in different ways, even for titles. To help me generate a title. I still input, I still choose the title, but it kind of sparks ideas. And so I settled on the 52, and then I started writing them. So this is kind of an interesting thing. So I ended up writing, I think, a good number, if not all of them initially. And my thought process was to use ChatGPT to write the initial structure in paragraphs on these different topics. And then what I would do is I go back and backfill my experiences and put my voice in there and do that stuff. It sounded like a really simple idea. And then I realized the patterns, there was too much of a pattern. So they started all looking the same and the same kind of bullet structure. And there was too many bullets, and it was the whole thing. And so I ended up going back and having it. So what I did is I actually created a custom, I don't know if you've heard of this, but in ChatGPT, you have your general chats, but then you can create these custom GPTs, because what can happen is you can start a thread of prompts, but it's going to forget stuff eventually. I didn't want it to forget stuff. I wanted to kind of solidify what we were doing and what role it was playing. And so I created a custom ChatGPT, and, basically just for this project. So I created a custom ChatGPT just for this 52 email project, and then fed it the type of things we were going to do and what the content looked like, and then how I wanted the content to be created. Conversational in tone. Don't use too many bullets. Little things like that. And sometimes even the ChatGPT, even the GPTs, it forgets. So you got to remind it, or overwrites it when you tweak it or whatever. But eventually I went through this iterative process with it and kept training it until I started getting the output I wanted. And it was still the same thing. But I was already kind of starting to update the content with my own case studies and ideas and thoughts and tweaks. And so it started iterating on that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I ended up I think I did another round, and then I went back and did another round. I think I went through 3 phases and continued to bake in my experiences and tweak. And then I actually created, I did a conversation with ChatGPT from a strategic perspective. It was going to talk to me as if it's a expert on email strategy or whatever. And we talked about the overall structure and how we're going to, what this section of the series does, what this section of the series does, why we're doing it, how it kind of all fits together and flows. Worked on that flow. I ended up having to move some things around, because within it, what am I selling as well? Now, I'm going to soft sell 80, 90% of it's just content and teaching and sharing experiences and ideas and my thoughts around these things. But within there, I'm weaving in, talking about my own products and services and driving traffic to those. But I don't want to do it like multiple in a row. I want to even it out, and I want to do it in a soft way. And so I was kind of reordering things. There's also a couple affiliate programs that I signed up for or were already signed up for, and embed those links in a few places. It's not over the top though. There's only a few programs, things that I really, really, truly believe in. And of course I believe in my own products and services. So that's really what it's all about. But 90% of this is just me providing advice and thoughts on these different topics. And it's a range of topics. So then I went through, and I was doing this all in a Google Doc. I wasn't doing it. It's hard to do it just directly in MailChimp because it's hard to see everything. I wanted to see everything in a doc, be able to search and analyze it. And so I got the structure all looking really good, and everything done in that Google Doc. And then it was time to create the series in MailChimp. So what I ended up doing is, so there's automations in there, journeys they call them. So I'm going to bring somebody on a journey, a nurturing journey. And I created the 52 emails. I created an email template, an email template. So it has my logo, and then it already had my signature that I decided on in there, and how it's kind of the overall layout. And then it was just blank where I would drop in the content. It was a little tricky because the content copying from the Google Doc directly into MailChimp does not work. And I actually figured out it's odd. I use something called, I think it's called Text Edit. Text Edit. So what I would do is I would copy it from Google Docs, just the content, and then drop it into Text Edit, and not just any text edit, it was the rich text. So I made sure it was rich text, dropped it in there, and then from there copied it and put it in MailChimp. And then it would be pretty good. The bullets would still be weird. It added extra bullets, but I don't know. It got me close enough. I would fix the bullets and kept her going. And this becomes a put on the music, monotonous task that technically I could have given to somebody. I have VAs that could have probably done this, but I really was invested in this and I wanted to do it all. I may have them come back and do things, or maybe there's other email lists they'll help with, whatever. This one, I just was really personal to me, and I really wanted to just live it. And I had the extra time. Let me do it. So one by one, created the emails, dropped them in there until I have all 52 in there now. And then how I'm managing it. So basically I number my series. So everybody right now is in series 2, outsource fit series 2, whatever I called it. And they're tagged as series 2. So that's why they're in there. What I do with this new series, it's a new journey. The trigger is now they're tagged for series 3. So now I just add it at the end. They added this tag and they're moved over to this new series. And now it's all automated. Life is good. And so now, like I said, I got the next year. I'll have to decide if I'm going to go back and how I'm going to edit those, or if I'm going to just create a whole new series that they're moved to. I'll figure that out later. It's step by step, and I think when you're doing this type of thing, now I didn't need to technically do all 52. I just made the decision. I actually thought a lot about it. I'm like, well, I could just do series 3, could just have 12 more, or 26 more. I could just do half. And then I got 6 months. I could do the next one. So whatever it is, you could do that every 4, like if that's all you have the time to do, just do the next 4 and then just stay ahead of it. So the people that are in your series are automatically moved, or there's not too much of a gap. The thing about email marketing is it's important to be consistent. It's just like social media, posted on social media. And is with the stuff that we're doing, if you follow our stuff, you've been following our stuff for 3.5 years. You haven't seen, there may be one or a couple instances where we didn't post something that day because someone was sick or who knows what chaos was happening. It's rare though. Mostly every day we're posting stuff. It's the same way with email marketing. You want to keep the list warm. And what that means is they're used to seeing you. They get to know you. They're just used to you. They're warm. They're ready. They're getting great value. And then when you're going to provide them an offer, that they're ready for you. There's some lists I belong to that, so the point there is that you want to be consistent. That's why we do the drip, right? That's why every week we're going to send something consistently. And at the end of that series, I need to have something else. Either I'm going to repeat them or, maybe I repeat them the first year and the second year I decide to create another series or do something completely different. I may have situations within that series where eventually I put something in there where they're moved automatically based on some action they took. Maybe I send them to a landing page and they sign up for something different that replaces what they were doing or narrows them. Maybe, because I don't know 100%, there's ways to segment your lists. So I may be able to figure out a way to pull a segment out and give them a specific type of content that replaces the series they're in. So there's all kinds of things you can do there. That's what's kind of fun about email marketing. It's like it's like almost like herding cattle in a way. Cattle, I love. In a way, it is like you create this experience for people, and as long as you continue to give value, obviously, if you're not giving value and you're just pitching them all the time, in other words, selling constantly, and people are going to drop off. You're going to have huge churn and whatever. But my goal is to actually build that relationship and provide value first, and then soft sell and just, I have the expectation that the people that are on my list that care about what Matt's doing want to know about our projects, want to learn about what we're doing or that new thing we're doing or whatever. That's the relationship you want to build. You want people on your list that care about what you do and want to hear about what you do. In fact, think about it this way. Think about, visualize a person on your list learning about something you're doing somewhere else and being a little bit upset. Like, why didn't Matt tell me about that? Whatever your name is. Why didn't they tell me that they were doing this thing? I would love to have been part of that or taken that offer or whatever. You want to think about it that way. The people that are on your list care about what you do, they care about your content. They are interested in what you do, so they want to know about all the things you're doing. There are lists I'm on that all they do is pitch. There's lists I've been on for years that like on some like throwaway email somewhere that maybe I gave away or some of my older accounts. I go back once in a while to these old accounts and I still see them. Like they must have like a repeat thing. It probably is, right? It's probably like, it could be a 3-year series they have and they just repeat it forever. And you still just get stuff. And but it's all offers. And you know what? They do that because it works. Because some people, they want to see those offers. They love those shiny objects. But for me, it's like, it's a balance. It's always been that way. I've always, even when I had my list in the past, I had a legitimate newsletter I would send out every month with that actual articles and value I would bring. That's kind of the flavor I like to do. I don't want to just pitch people. But yeah. So did I leave anything out? So you kind of got the background. You got, the why I'm doing what I'm doing. Obviously, just to recap the why a little bit, it is, I'm doing this list because I want to give back, but also because there is a business reason, right? My hope is to find people that are interested in what I'm doing, care about what Matt's doing, and want to follow what I'm doing. And maybe eventually, maybe they're not ready today, but maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, they're still on my list. And maybe they're launching a website, or maybe they need a WordPress plugin, or maybe maybe I'm doing consulting by that time. Who knows what I'm doing at that stage, but maybe they need me for some reason. But it's not going to be everybody. It's a numbers game. So I hope maybe at that time I've gotten 50,000 people on this list and 1% have ever done anything. But that's 1% that I wouldn't have had before. It's a fun thing. It's another way to build relationships, just like you're doing on social media and networking. It's another entrance point, another touch point. And, it's a lot of fun. I'm excited, to finally have a legitimate entry point for a list. And I think it's great. I know that I'm an expert on that topic because I do it in my day-to-day. I have a lot of examples of I'm actually taking action on these things and I'm learning from the trenches. And that's a beautiful thing. Just like this podcast, I talk from the trenches. I'm actually doing what we're doing the do. But it's the same way there. And it's another way to, it's obvious what it's about. So the people that are going to sign up for that are going to be interested in outsourcing or building partnerships. And some of those will just go off and build their partnerships. But one or a few might need to build a partnership with Unified Web Design. So, that's the whole idea. And if I build a big enough list, I can have affiliate offers in there. I can monetize it in other ways. I can drive more traffic to my podcasts. So there's so much I can do with that. So it's really powerful. Again, I believe in it so much because I've seen it work. That list I had years ago was a gold mine. It was amazing. I just got out of that business. So I really couldn't maintain that list over time. But I'm a big believer in it. And hopefully this is the beginning of something amazing over the years. But if you're interested in building a list or you haven't thought about it, really give it a lot of consideration and think about it from that perspective. Again, why I did it. You have to have a good why and how you're going to bake it into everything you do and visualize how that traffic's going to flow, how you're going to get people to, even if you're talking about a general topic, how do you accidentally mention, because let me give you an example. Unified plugins. I'm talking about outsourcing. These are plugins that my team created from scratch, brings value. We can build sites with them and stuff, but how do I bake that how do I make that an offer within these emails? You know what I did? I actually weaved it into a story about how we create custom solutions for people. And I think it was about that. In fact, I should bring that up, right? Let me just bring that up. We'll end with this, right? So custom solutions. Let's see, where did I put it here? Unlocking. There we go. Okay, I got to go in Google Drive. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring up. See the reason why this is a great reason to have it in Google Docs, because you can't really search anything in MailChimp, right? But now I can go to Google Docs. I can put in Unified Plugins, and there's that offer one. So let me just speak to this, and this is how we'll close things. But like I said, it's about the whys and then weaving things in and driving traffic to what you're doing, after you've built a relationship, right? So this one is adding value, unique builds for our clients with Unified Plugins. So I start with, what can we offer that others can't or won't? There's a particular agency I've been working with almost since the beginning of our own agency. And I talk about this story where there was this agency, and we still do work with them today, but basically they're in a very specific vertical. And we had built a website, very custom website for a client years ago of theirs. And I think the first one, this is really interesting. There's another lesson in here. So you know how like web design agencies, digital marketing agencies will, in the footer of a website, put a link back to their agency. So a lot of times you say designed by, so-and-so or whatever. That's what our partner did. So we'd build the site for them, but my partner's the one, it's their client. So they're going to put their stuff in there. So what happened is one of their competitors, or I don't even know if they compete, but they found this website and they saw the footer. They reached out to my partner. They said, we really like this website. Can you build something like that for us? My partner comes back to Matt and says, Matt, somebody's actually interested in this. Would it be easy to duplicate this website and rebrand it for them? We did that. That one actually, we did it and we actually enhanced it. We created some new sections and kind of some new designs around it, new features. And now we have that. And that's happened several times since. And we talked about, and it basically is at this point, it's a framework now. He can go out and if he put the marketing behind it, or if he runs into similar types of clients, he can now point to these other projects that we created and like, we can build that for you. That is a custom solution. So what I did was, I'm like, well, how do I talk about unified plugins? Well, enters unified plugins. And if you're on video, you just saw balloons. I have no idea how I just did that. Ever since I got my MacBook Pro, it pops things up now. If I do a thumbs up, there, see? So that was fun. I don't know what that hand gesture was. Let's try not to do that, Matt. But it's a playground where we build solutions that solve client problems and tackle our own challenges in managing sites. Okay. With our in-house WordPress theme combined with unified plugins, we can create unique websites, all these bells and whistles. And it basically, that unified plugins, we create frameworks around unified plugins and what we do. I'm talking about unified plugins. And hey, by the way, if you want to explore our suite of plugins, or if you want us, do it yourself, or we can help you with it with unified web design, we can help put it together, use these plugins to build you a site. We can do it custom. We can create builds that you can then turn around and you can sell. So if you're in a niche, like our partner is, it's a very specific niche. Let's say it's HVAC or something. We can help you create a framework, a website that we can replicate. And obviously that keeps the cost down as well, because if you're building something custom for the first time, there's a lot more involved. But if you have a framework, it's almost like going out and getting a third party, but it's better because, it's coming from us. It's something you design. Like if you go out and get a third party theme, now I'm going off the rails here, but if you get a third party theme, they built that for who knows who, right? We're building it for you. So we can create custom solutions for you. That back to the whole, to email here, but that's how I weave that in. I'm not just pitching you. I'm not just sending you an ad. I'm sending you, hey, here's another story and how we help people on the outsourcing front, help our partners. And by the way, we have unified plugins, and that is our playground. And that's how we come up with these things and do stuff for you. That's how you want to do that. You just, do that. I did the same thing with the builders. I did the same thing with unified web design, like baked it into the content so it's relevant to that content, so nobody gets upset. And then it's dispersed. It's probably it's going to be a month or two that goes by before you get another one like that. But yeah. So anyway, so that's the process. I hope you found this interesting. I will just keep talking all day if I don't sign off right now, because there's a lot to talk about here in terms of email marketing. We could go into now, how am I going to promote that? I could land on that a little bit. I just said I was going to be done with the last thing I was talking about. But yeah, I mean, I think I hinted at it. I'm going to be doing guesting. And now I have a way to, I have something to really drive people to, because people really like to, I've been getting on recent podcasts where I'm talking a lot about partners and strategic partnerships and outsourcing. So I just did one like that. But I was able to send them to mattlevenhagen.com to download my guide. And by the way, if you're not doing anything right now, it takes like 2 minutes. Go to mattlevenhagen.com. Right at the top there, you're going to see like just a little bit of a form for sign up. You enter your name and email, and guess what? You'll enter Matt's world, and you'll learn more about how I build partnerships and strategic partnerships and outsourcing. And it's crazy how many topics there actually are around that. I wasn't sure I could build a 52 email list on just that, but there's a lot more I could go even beyond that. So I'm going to go now. All right. You have a good one. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Till next time, take care. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.